Good evening and welcome to Moebius Radio 24 Science Program. As you know, Moebius is part of the Nanochannels project, which aims at informing and engaging lay public on nanotechnology. It does so through a number of activities, among which some online surveys and focus groups, where the public is asked opinions on nanotechnology. In one of these surveys, the project asked consumers if they expected products made with nanotechnologies to be specifically labeled. Results are interesting, and we have discussed them with Federico Pedrocchi, producer and editor of Moebius Science, Luisa Filipponi, scientific consultant of Nanochannels, and Fabio Iraldo, associate professor in management at the University Bocconi in Milan. Professor Iraldo's research interests include certifications and product labeling. What you will hear now is a summary of this discussion. First thing, we asked Luisa to share with us the results of the Nanochannel survey conducted last year all around Europe. We learned from her that when people were asked if they thought it was necessary to have a specific label that identifies a consumer product manufactured using nanotechnologies, about 70% of respondents said yes. When asked what should the label say and be like, as a first reaction, about 50% of respondents asked for a symbol on the packaging, and another half asked for the nanomaterials used to be listed in the ingredients. When this issue was discussed in more details during the focus groups, participants, on a second thought, felt that the symbol might not be so useful for the consumer, since few people actually know what nanotechnology is. There is the risk of putting on the package something that people don't quite understand, and at the end of the day does not help them in making an informed choice. Federico at this point highlights that this is indeed the crucial point. If we want to truly inform consumers through labeling, we will need a fair amount of information in that label written in a way that an average consumer can understand it. Federico also points out that in the same survey, some reply that what matters to them is the brand selling the product. They would select products based on brands they trust. So he passes on the question to Professor Iraldo. What labeling strategy should we adopt for consumer products made with nanotechnologies? Professor Iraldo replies that there are basically two different approaches to labeling. The first approach is the adoption of a voluntary or a mandatory labeling scheme. In both cases, the label summarizes information for the consumer, who then has to deal with the information contained in that label. Luisa now asks Professor Iraldo what his opinion is on the argument that labeling actually shifts the responsibility from the manufacturer to the consumer, who might be left with information that he or she does not quite understand, yet the manufacturer had done his communication job. Professor Iraldo replies that there is an issue with how readable and understandable the information on a label is for the general consumer. He explains how often manufacturers tend to put a lot of technical information on the label in order to avoid liability. Professor Iraldo now explains that the second approach is to create a brand, a quality trademark that consumers can recognize. The trademark is a symbol, a logo, provided by an authority which tests the different products, and through the trademark guarantees the safety of that product. Federico, Luisa and Professor Iraldo believe that the establishment of such an independent authority is the best solution. Professor Iraldo adds that the existence of such an authority would become an incentive for manufacturers to use nanomaterials in the safest way and only where a real added benefit is evident for the consumer. He also highlights how we really need to avoid what happened with the GMO products, where no such an authority has been established, resulting in random labeling, which in the end does not guarantee safety for the consumers. And now it's your time to say what you think on the matter of nanotech product labeling. Go to www.nanochannels.eu and have your say.